Yeah, you sing, so we'll sing together. I cry, yeah, you cry, so we'll cry together. I love, yeah, you love, so we'll love together. You hurt, I hurt, so we learned together, through everything, even the smaller things, even the harder things, we stay together, yeah. Through everything, even the bigger things, nothing's impossible if we stay together, yeah. You joke, I joke, so we laugh together. We share, we cuss, but we learn together. We hurt, we fuss, but let's hurt together. I leave, you leave, so we live together, through everything, even the smaller things, even the harder things, we stay together, yeah.
All right, welcome to another episode of Can You Connect? And this is Mr. Walk That Walk. And this episode is going to be on dating somebody who's dealing with, let's say, a chronic illness, or dating somebody who's is physically disabled. So our first person we're going to be going over is the people who deal with chronic illness. And the first person is going to be a Caucasian lady who's dealing with fibromyalgia. They are currently dealing with this particular chronic disease: muscle and nerve pain, fatigue, brain fog, and morning grogginess. Therefore, she was going over that at times she feels as though maybe she does not have energy to go out and talk to people and build a connection with people due to, her chronic illness. And at times, once a person finds out that she is chronically ill, they may continue talking to her even though maybe they don't want to talk to her at all because of finding that out. So they may do things because they don't want to look bad for leaving her, or because they feel as though maybe having some type of pity on her, so they'll just stay, which ends up causing more problems in the long run because they're not genuinely there for them. So she mentions wanting support from her future spouse or from her partner. So it could be simple things like carrying bags or making things easier when they go out. So allowing them to have breaks in between their outings, because sometimes she may need to take a minute and take a breather due to getting that fatigue or that tiredness when she's out. And she mentioned when she expresses that she has a chronic illness, she focuses on a person's reaction. So if they're reacting pretty negative or feeling frustrated with her, then she's not going to continue with that person. But if the person is caring and understanding and, wants to know more about what she's going through, then she'll continue talking to that person and seeing how things grow from there. Our next person is going to be a Caucasian male who deals with Lyme's disease. So it comes in stages, I guess, depending on the time. So Lyme's disease, it comes from a tick bite, and then you'll get a bullseye red circle on a tick bite, and as time goes, it will stage 1 is like a fever, headache, joint pain, muscle pain, body becomes swollen. 2, they start getting rashes almost all over their body, and they're still dealing with that tiredness. They are dealing with neck pain. They are dealing with their body being weaker. They deal with an irregular heartbeat. They deal with numbness, and they deal with eye swelling. And on but stage 3, it becomes arthritis, and it could also become a skin disease, skin condition. So where their body, I guess where the rashes like used to be, and if it was there for a long time, it becomes discolored and at times becomes swollen. And due to these things, he's went over that he's, due to the tiredness that I went over and discussed, he can't overcommit with some things. So he needs to understand his boundaries on what he can and can't do. So he's not going to per se go on a long drive to meet a date or, meet somebody that's far away. Maybe when he's having a good day, and a person has to be understanding. Let's say if he willing to do it but end up cancels, understand that that's why, because at times he's going through pain and tiredness and can only do but so much. He works on trying to assume that the person is not going to have a negative reaction to him telling them that he has a chronic illness. And he's also working on telling people when he's having a hard time, because sometimes they don't say what's going on, which it cause problems. Let's say if you're not expressing yourself, then how are you getting that energy out? At times he mentioned that he would lash out on other people, but he's working on fixing it to just say, hey, I'm going through this pain or X, Y, and Z due to my illness. And understanding that it's a lot, and that his the person he's dating may need space and may need time away from him, because if it could be challenging when you're in a space where you're maybe taking care of somebody or doing things that you don't usually do when you're normally dating. So sometimes you need a break at times. And our next person is going to be a African American woman from the U.S. She went through kidney disease and dialysis, and through the healing part. At age 21, the doctor said that she wasn't going to be living long, and she had to really focus in on her health. And when you're focused on your health and focused on making sure that you're going to be here, she didn't really have time for dating. But she felt insecure due to being on dialysis, because they put certain tubes in you, and and there's scarring on her. So she waited 3 to 5 years after getting a new kidney to think about dating again. But she also mentioned that maybe if she would have did it sooner, it would have been nice to have somebody there who was, helping her through the process and understanding. But, she had that hard time with feeling insecure about how her body looked But if she would have worked through it, she would have thought about dating when she was feeling more stable, to where she was, to where the doctors were saying, okay, we think you're going to move past this to where you'll be able to live a long, healthy life. Once you're getting to that part, she was like, maybe she could have started dating when she was more stable and more healthy. Now, the next ones are going to be couples. Next two, I think. I think it's next two. Yeah. And the husband's perspective of taking care of their wife. So the first one is going to be a Caucasian male. His wife dealt with post-serial or teostatic I don't know how to say none of this. Tachycardia syndrome. Basically, it causes rapid heartbeat, dizziness, and fatigue when she's transitioning from laying down to standing up, or vice versa. But you see how I took long to even say it. Subjectively, probably not right. That's just as long as how they took to find out that she had that, because that's not a common thing. So since it's not a common thing, the husband had to, take his wife to multiple doctors to try to figure out what's going on. And it was challenging for them due to having no answers for some of the doctors. But he mentioned trying to stay positive, when feeling bad about not being able to help his wife. And he also discussed working on finding little victories, to allow them to find some happiness. Because when there's always the negatives, those things could bring you down. And he mentioned feeling more pressure to do more for his wife to, make her day better, which caused him to think a bit less about himself. But he did, at a certain point, understood that he couldn't try to help her 24/7 because he had to work on being responsible by taking care of work and taking care of the kids, and to also maybe do his self-care at times, but making sure he's not super far away from his wife so he could go back to care for her, or if something's going on. And another couple is going to be a black couple. They might be from somewhere different. That's why I just said black couple, I think. Because I heard some accents. They just didn't say where they were from. But anyway. The husband said that he was going through a stressful time trying to help his wife with kidney disease and, and take care of the kids at the same time. But initially he thought that sometimes his wife could have helped and, did certain things. And to him it looked as she was just not doing anything and laying in the bed all day. But through his challenging his mindset, he worked on understanding that he doesn't know her pain and doesn't know what she's going through. And he doesn't have it to say what she can and can't do. And he was also going through pain himself, due to witnessing his wife being in pain and, not really having the tools to help her. And the wife was also going through things as well. She reported often crying because at the point her kidney disease started after she had her second child. So she wasn't really able to be there for her newborn. So that caused her a lot of stress. And she wasn't able to be there for her first child as well. And couldn't be a wife to her husband. However, the husband did try his best to be helpful as possible. He cooked, he cleaned, he took her to all her appointments, he took care of the kids, made sure not to be negative, even when his wife looked, as though she was going to pass away in some instances. He didn't stress her, And he also went out his way to take care of his wife's businesses. So she had certain businesses before she got sick, so he kind of took on her stuff as well. And this was probably the first one I heard, though. This wife also was preparing her family for her to potentially pass away, so she would make certain videos, expressing how she feels to them. Just in case she did. Because she at times had thoughts about, giving up and, not continuing forward, due to all the pain she was going through. However, the husband tried to encourage her the best way he could, and even when they were kind of upset with or maybe, let's say, annoyed with each other, he just brought up the kids, encouraging her to fight for the kids and stay for the kids, to help her just stay strong, even when it's feeling challenging. And then he'll try to celebrate the little wins that they have and, try to get her favorite snacks at times and, tell her that they're going to go do fun things or, have her look forward to things like going on vacation. Just to keep her motivated to continue with the healing journey. But it also took a financial hit on them due to her appointment costs and medication costs. But that just made him, the husband, work on being better with managing money to make sure they're good and to make sure that he could take care of the home. They don't have to have everything, but just enough to take care of themselves. And that will be it for the people who deal with a chronic illness. Oh, and she had lupus, so she was going through that. Wait, I think it's both. I think it was lupus, then the kidney disease happened, I think, after she gave birth, I believe. And so now we're going to go to the part on the people who are struggling with physical disabilities. So this lady, she's from St. Lucia, but she lives in the U.S. She dealt with cerebral palsy, so therefore her hips down, that part was weak. So, to the point where she can't walk. Her body's not strong enough to walk in a way where people wouldn't notice. So, since her body's weak, she kind of walks with a limp. And to the point where it just made more sense for her to, walk with crutches. And because she did walk with crutches, she'll actually get more attention from people when they'll, walk up and talk to her. But they wouldn't really go up and talk to her, let's say, if she chose not to use her crutches at all. Because maybe that threw some people off, seeing her walking with a limp. And at times, even when she would tell people that she has a physical disability, people would go silent and not want to continue with her, which would cause her to feel hopeless in being able to find somebody that she could be in a relationship with or potentially get married to due to that. So she wanted people to, so that would just make her feel sad and down at times, due to that, due to people not being accepting of her physical disability and just being willing to work with her. And there is, our next person is going to be a Caucasian lady. She mentioned at 8, she ended up injuring herself and falling, which that caused her to start limping as well. And, due to these things, it was hard for her to find the right care. And, since she was kind of, what would I say? She wasn't well taken care of by, let's say, the medical field. So it kind of made her health be a bit worse. So due to that, she had to start getting like platform shoes, like stuff to help with her walk. And those people will often, and she'll have a hard time going up the stairs, and had a hard time accepting that she had a physical disability. And knowing that people didn't really accept it, that kind of, put a lot of pressure on her and made her feel bad about herself in a way. To the point where it was hard for her to build trust in people and let people in. But she mentioned that starting out just being friends with people and allowing them to get to know her, she mentioned that did help in those instances. But, when younger, it was harder. She didn't go to prom when she was in high school, and she didn't go on dates that much when she was younger, like in her teenage years. And when she is out and about, she mentioned that it could be hard as well, because since she does have the limp, she'll be talking to somebody, and when she has to maybe go to the bathroom, and she'll be scared to even go to the bathroom because they're going to see her limping to go to the bathroom. So at times that would cause the other person to, not want to continue talking with her, and she would get rejected often. And she mentioned also worried about getting attacked when going out with people as well. Due to her not being able to run away, she has a physical disability. So she will also worry about her safety. So sometimes that could be a reason why why some people are not going out like that. And our next person is going to be African American woman. She mentioned that she wants her spouse to accept her and accept that she can't do certain things, but also be encouraging and telling her that she could do a lot, that she can put effort towards things that she really wants to do in her life. But she was also worried about her partner going to find somebody that doesn't have a physical disability and, leaving her or just taking advantage of her or not choosing her first, putting her first. And there was another couple, not another couple, but there was one couple I seen where it was a woman who was kind of going through her motions of maybe wanting to go to the gym but not, and ended up scrolling on social media and seeing a guy on a wheelchair working out, and she kind of liked his post, and that motivated her to go work out. But by the time that she came back, the guy actually hit her up, and they started talking from there. But however, due to that admiration of seeing him do that, I feel like that kind of put in a soft spot for him to be able to talk to her so they could start dating and I believe they're married as well, so they're definitely a consistent, ongoing couple. And she wasn't as strong as first to help him, but she ended up going to the gym. She's able, because he's wheelchair bound, so she's able to carry him up and down flights of stairs, and help him when needed. So they're definitely committed to each other and committed to helping each other and being there for each other. So in certain cases, you can have physical disability and can't find somebody, but it is more harder if you do have other things going on, like a like a chronic illness or physical disability. Those things is challenging. It's hard for some people to accept those things, and some people are looking for perfection, and some people are uncomfortable with being seen with somebody who's not all the way there 100%, maybe health wise. So these are just certain things to keep in mind. I just want to tell their stories and let everybody know how it is with dating them, and things they want from the person that they are going to talk to. So that will be it for this episode. So definitely thanks for watching. We'll be checking back in, of course, next week. And of course, we'll be supporting a black-owned business called Kitchen and Kocktails with a K. I just went there. I had a broiled lobster and waffles, so that was pretty good. It was pretty tasty. Definitely enjoyed it. They're in DC and a few other places, so I'll put all their information in the description below, and definitely to support the person who does my music and the person who made my avatar. That will be in the description. And I'm a clinical social worker for the state of Maryland, so I can provide individual, couples, and family therapy. So if you're interested, just send me an email. But other than that, y'all have a good rest of the night and a good rest of the week.
Yeah, when So bring them back, baby, back.